Hey everyone, welcome to a fresh episode of Cappuccino and Croissant, the podcast where we dissect pop culture with as much zest as a dollop of wasabi. Today, we've got a lineup that's as eclectic as a Spotify shuffle playlist. We're diving into the realm of reboots and remakes because apparently Hollywood has decided that nostalgia is more lucrative than originality. First up, let's talk about the cinema classics that have gotten a facelift, like The Lion King or Ghostbusters. Then we're taking on Disney and their superpower of turning dark and fascinating tales into saccharine musical comedies. Because let's be honest, who needs Anderson's existential saint when you can have happy endings and catchy tunes? And to wrap it up, let's discuss a radical idea. Instead of recycling the same stories over and over, why not explore the rich and varied folktales of other cultures? Picture a movie as captivating as Kirikou and the Sorceress, but with legends from around the globe. Yes, Disney, we're looking at you. Finally, we'll delve into the social commentary behind big American corporations and productions, using Disney and the Cannes Film Festival as our starting points. Because saving the world one merchandising deal at a time definitely deserves a conversation. So grab your cappuccino, snag a croissant. Welcome to Cappuccino and Croissant, the podcast that's bound to become your latest obsession. Let's dive in. All right, let's dive straight into the nitty gritty. Reboots and remakes. Ever notice that every time you fire up Netflix, it feels like you're stuck in a time loop? Except instead of reliving the cool moments of your childhood, you're getting remastered versions that feel more like Wonderwall covers than the original hits. First, the basics. What are reboots and remakes? Essentially, it's Hollywood saying, what if we redo this classic movie but with more special effects and less soul? Take The Lion King, for example. They swapped out the charming 2D animation for hyper-realistic CGI. Sure, it looked amazing, but it was like seeing your favorite toy turn into a collectible figurine. Impressive, but soulless. And it's not just Disney. Look at Ghostbusters. They tried to capture the original magic with a new team. It was fun, but we all know it felt like a bit of a desperate cash grab. And then there's Jurassic World. The basic idea is cool. Hey, we brought the dinosaurs back and things are gonna go south again. Surprise, surprise. It's like saying we brought back the 90s, but with more Chris Pratt. And don't even get me started on Mulan. Instead of Mushu, we got a metaphorical phoenix. No thanks, I'll stick with Eddie Murphy's dubious jokes. But why this obsession with reboots and remakes? Are studios out of original ideas, or is nostalgia the ultimate ticket seller? Probably a bit of both. It's like Hollywood decided the best way to move forward is by looking back. On one hand, there are benefits. Younger generations get to discover incredible stories they might have missed. On the other hand, original works get lost in the sea of retreads. And let's be honest, some remakes were as necessary as a fifth Shrek movie. What's interesting is how remakes and reboots often mirror the times. Ocean's 8 with an all-female cast? Fantastic. It shows progress in representation, but sometimes it's just an excuse to ride the wave of political correctness without genuine commitment. And that's when it becomes hypocritical. So, reboots and remakes, good or bad? A bit of both. As long as they bring something new to the table and respect the original spirit, why not? But if it's just about playing on nostalgia and emptying our wallets, maybe it's time Hollywood remembers that innovation comes from taking risks, not recycling old hits. Now, let's move on to another hot topic. How Disney is sanitizing our favorite tales. Remember the dark, twisted stories of the brothers Grimm or Anderson? Well, Disney took them, dunked them in a sugar bath, and pulled them out with happy endings and catchy songs. Because apparently, kids can't handle a little tragedy between episodes of Peppa Pig. What happened to the Bambis and Fox and the Hounds of the world? Take The Little Mermaid. In Anderson's original story, Ariel doesn't end up in a wedding dress, but turns into sea foam after being betrayed by her prince. It's dark, it's deep, and it leaves a lasting impression. But no, Disney decided all she really needed was a good song and a happy ending. Because nothing says real moral like abandoning your family and identity for a guy you saw once. And let's not even start on Cinderella. In the Grimm's version, the wicked stepsisters mutilate their feet to fit into the glass slipper. And at the end, birds peck out their eyes. Disney went for a gentler approach, making Cinderella an icon of passive patience. Because apparently, stoically enduring abuse is the key to getting what you want in life. Great lesson, right? But it's not just the sweetening of stories that's the issue. It's also that Disney keeps choosing the same old tales to adapt, mostly from European folklore. Why not draw from the myths and legends of other cultures? Take Kirikou and the Sorceress, a film that explores African tales with incredible depth and authenticity. Imagine a world where Disney uses its platform to tell stories from Asian, South American, or Oceanian folklore. And now, let's talk about the latest controversy: Snow White. Yes, you heard right. In the live action remake, Snow White doesn't look like the original, and the seven dwarfs aren't dwarfs anymore. Because apparently traditional dwarfs are too problematic. It's like deciding Batman won't have the Batmobile anymore because cars pollute. We get the idea, but is it really necessary? Are Tolkien adaptations going to follow? What's fascinating is how these modern adaptations try to correct the mistakes of the original tales, but often end up stripping away what made them unique. Snow White without her seven dwarfs is like a Taylor Swift song without relationship drama. Yes, it exists, but is it really what we want? So, what's the takeaway? Disney has the power to introduce diverse cultures and fascinating stories to a global audience. Instead of sticking to sanitized remakes of European tales, why not broaden their horizons and offer real narrative diversity? It would give everyone a chance to shine and show that human imagination is broader than any enchanted forest. And now for our third act. Why doesn't Hollywood draw more from the folklore of other cultures? Imagine, instead of churning out endless remakes, we get fresh, diverse stories from around the globe. But no, they'd rather serve us reheated leftovers with a sprinkle of dubious modernity. It's like going to a Michelin starred restaurant and ending up with a microwave dinner. Take Moana, for instance. It's one of Disney's rare successful attempts to explore a culture beyond the perpetual medieval Europe. Inspired by Polynesian legends, the film offered us an epic adventure with complex characters and a killer soundtrack. Who would have thought Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson would make such a great demigod? Literally everyone. Let's not kid ourselves. But why stop there? The world is brimming with fascinating legends just waiting to be told. Think of Japanese mythology with its yokai, supernatural creatures scarier than any horror movie monster. Imagine a Disney film inspired by the tales of Lafcadio Hearn, featuring trickster fox spirits and nature spirits. It'd be a refreshing break from predictable princesses and happy endings. Then there's Native American folklore, with its powerful and often overlooked stories. Take the story of the Raven, a cunning and often mischievous character who steals light to give to humanity. That's a legend that could rival any Marvel superhero. Instead of recycling Spider Man for the umpteenth time, why not explore these rich tales filled with wisdom and teachings? And of course, we can't forget African tales beyond Kirikou. For example, Anansi the Spider, a clever and mischievous trickster who solves problems with wit and humor. That would make an excellent animated film with a strong message about intelligence and resilience. But perhaps Disney's executives are too busy perfecting the next Frozen sequel. Ultimately, tapping into global folklore wouldn't just be a gesture towards diversity, it would be a treasure trove for creativity. Studios would do well to explore these narrative gems instead of recycling the same old stories ad nauseum. And who knows, it might even educate young viewers about cultural diversity in a fun and engaging way. Imagine learning while being entertained. What a revolutionary idea! So, the next time you find yourself in front of a remake of your favorite childhood movie, think of all the untold stories that could enrich our collective imagination. Maybe one day, Hollywood will hear our call. Until then, we have our podcasts and books to explore these fascinating worlds. For our final segment, let's talk about something that affects us all. Even if it's often hidden under a veneer of glitz and glamour, the social responsibility of major corporations and productions. Yes, I'm looking at you, Disney and the like. We're going to dissect how these industry giants position themselves socially and what it really means. Spoiler alert, it's often less noble than it appears. Take Disney, for instance. They market themselves as champions of diversity and inclusion, with films featuring characters from all sorts of backgrounds and identities. That's all well and good, But let's not forget that behind this facade, there are strategic economic decisions at play. Inclusion is also good business. Look at Black Panther and Encanto. These aren't just movies, they're products targeting specific, profitable markets. So, yes, we have African and Latino heroes. But is it out of pure goodwill or to attract a broader, more diverse audience? And then there's the Cannes Film Festival. Cannes, where stars strut down the red carpet in Prada and Versace, and speeches about the environment and human rights abound. But how many of these lofty words translate into concrete actions? Take this year, for example. We had a supposedly greener festival with eco friendly initiatives. That's cool, but when you see the private jets and luxury yachts, it's hard not to think that hypocrisy floats as well as the champagne. The problem is, these companies often use their social commitments as marketing tools. Have you heard of greenwashing? It's when a company pretends to be eco friendly while its actual practices are anything but. The same concept applies to social responsibility washing. Essentially, they flaunt progressive values to boost their image while continuing questionable practices behind the scenes. The goal? To attract new investors more than to genuinely please the public. Take Netflix, which prides itself on producing series with diverse casts and important social themes. But on the flip side, they're accused of contributing to gentrification in cities like Albuquerque, where they've set up their studios. It's like claiming to be a vegetarian while owning a cattle ranch. There's a word for that: irony. What I'm getting at is that we need to be conscious consumers. Applaud progressive gestures, yes, but also question the sincerity of these companies. It's not enough to see a corporation slap a rainbow flag on its logo in June to consider it a bastion of LGBTQ plus rights. We need to demand concrete and sustainable actions, not just well-calculated publicity stunts. So, what's the solution? Maybe it's time for us as consumers to demand more transparency and accountability. Let's require companies to prove their commitments with real actions, not just slick advertisements. Because at the end of the day, we have the power to change things by supporting those who genuinely act and calling out those who play a double game. Well, we've reached the end of this episode. To recap, reboots are often just reheated leftovers with a pinch of salt. Classic tales get turned into popsicles under the Disney effect. And the companies selling us dreams, well, they're often just selling dreams. Before we go, a little teaser for the next episode. We're diving into the world of stans. You know, those ultra devoted fans who idolize their favorite celebrities to the point of being a little creepy. So, get ready to delve into the realm of extreme fandoms, frantic tweets, and hashtag wars. It's going to be epic. Thanks to everyone for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to follow us on social media, leave a comment, and share your ideas for future episodes. Your feedback is like butter in a croissant, essential to keep things delightful. All right, we'll let you get back to your exciting lives. Remember, stay curious, stay critical, and most importantly, stay true to yourselves. See you next time with a cappuccino in hand and a fresh croissant. Take care.